In this video, we're looking at how to connect our resources residing on Azure to CloudConnexa. First, we need to create our Azure network on CloudConnexa. So click on Networks. I'm going to choose Site to Site here, but I'm going to skip the wizard. So click on Skip Wizard. Let's give it a name. I'm just going to call it Azure. And then if you scroll down for the tunneling protocol, we're going to use IPSec. And then for connector name and region, give it a name, choose your region. I'm going to leave them as a default. And then I'm going to add my IP services. This is the subnet that belongs to my Azure VNet. So I'm just going to add the subnet here. Let me 0.0/16 and then click on Add Network. So we can see my network is created. Now if I go to the IP services tab, we can see my IP services and the routes. Again, the subnet belongs to Azure VNet. The first thing we need to do, let's go to our Azure dashboard, and we're going to go to our VNet, and then click on subnet, and we're going to create a gateway subnet here. So for the create gateway subnet, I'm going to edit the subnet size to 27 and then click on add here. So this is going to take a few minutes. We need to wait till the subnet or gateway subnet is created. Here we go. It's created. So let's go back to our CloudConnexa, click on connectors, and we're going to configure our connector right now with the IPSec. So for the platform, we're going to choose Azure. And here we can see the IP address and address spaces that we need when we want to create the Azure gateway. So let's go ahead and copy the IP address, and we're going to head out to our Azure dashboard. We need to create local network gateways. So let's go ahead and search for that. And here we go. I'm going to select it and then click on create. So for the resource group, we're going to choose our resource group here. And then the region, obviously, we're going to need to choose our region as well. And let's give it a name to our network gateway here. Now, we want to make sure the IP address is selected. And this is where we're going to paste the IP address that we copied from our CloudConnexa. Here we go. And then let me go back here and paste that IP address here. Now, the next step for the address spaces, we need to copy each subnet one at a time and paste it in this field in our Azure or local network gateway creation. So I'm going to copy each subnet one by one and paste them here. Let me go ahead and add the next one. And here we go. And then we're going to go do the last one. And here it is. Then we're going to click on next, and then for BGP setting, we want to make sure no is selected, and then click on review and create. We can review all the information here, and then click on create. And this is going to take a few minutes to complete or get done. Once it's done, now we're going to go back to our CloudConnexa admin UI. Next step is creating the virtual network gateway. So let's go back to Azure dashboard here, and I'm going to just go ahead, refresh this page, and we can see that deployment is still in process. And we can see that deployment is completed for the local network gateway. So now let's go ahead and create our virtual network gateway. So I'm just going to go ahead and search for the virtual network gateway. Here we go, it is, and then click on create. Now let's give it a name to our virtual network gateway. So let me go type this. And then for the region, we're going to choose the same region as everything else that we have. And for the gateway type, we want to make sure the VPN is selected. Now we're going to use our own VNet for the virtual network, and we can check for the subnet, make sure this is the gateway subnet that we created early on a few minutes ago. If you scroll down, then we need to create public IP addresses or use an existing one. So we're going to create one, actually two. So I'm just going to select create new, and then let's give it a name. Here we go. I'm just going to type this name here. And then we're going to use the availability zone here. Then we're going to do again for the second IP address. I'm just going to create another one, just give it a name, and then use the availability zone. We want to make sure that configure BGP is disabled, and then the active mode is enabled if you look at it on CloudConnexa. So we're going to disable BGP and then click on next. We don't have any tags, so let's click on review. And here we go. We can see that active is enabled and then the BGP is disabled. So let's go ahead and click on create. So this is going to take a little bit of time before you can see everything. Sometimes it may take about 15 to 20 minutes. So not only you have to see the IP addresses, we need to see our virtual network gateway. So I'm going to pause the video here and then come back when everything is done. So as we can see, the deployment is completed now. Then we need to get the IP addresses first thing. So let's go ahead and click on the IP addresses, each at a time actually. And then here we go. Okay, we're going to copy this IP address, go back to CloudConnexa admin UI and paste it under tunnel 1. We need to do the same thing with the second IP address. So again, I'm going to go back to my Azure, choose the second IP address, and then paste it under tunnel 2 after enabling the switch. Now, the next step is create a pre-shared key. I'm just going to choose something generic here. Obviously, you want to create something more complicated. So let me go ahead and type this here. I'm going to copy the same thing and then paste it down here. Now, the next step is just creating the Azure connection. So I'm going to go back to my Azure dashboard. Here, we're going to search for connections. And then we're going to create a new connection here. So first, let's go ahead and choose our resource group. And then we're going to, for the connection type, we need to choose a site-to-site IPSec. So we need to click on the drop-down and choose that. Let's give it a name here. I'm just going to call it Connexa IPSec, and then the region. Next, click on settings. Then we're going to choose our virtual gateway and then the local network gateway that we created early on. Authentication method is PSK. We're going to copy the same pre-shared key that we created on CloudConnexa and paste it here. We go ahead and paste that. And then the IKE protocol version 2, this is what we want to select. And for the IPSec IKE policy, we want to use custom. Now, we want to make sure these values here match the same values as CloudConnexa. Expand configuration on CloudConnexa, and then we can see, for example, for encryption is AES 256, integrity is SHA 256, and so on. So we want to make sure we have the same values in Azure. So let me go ahead and make the changes here. Okay, good. Now for the IPSec lifetime in seconds. If we go back to CloudConnexa, we can see that it is set as 3600. So we're going to keep the same value here in Azure. So I'm going to change it to 3600. Next thing we need to do, if we go back to CloudConnexa and scroll down, where it says use policy-based traffic selector, we can see it's enabled. So let's go back to our Azure and make sure that is enabled. The next thing, we want to make sure that connection mode is selected to responder only. So I'm going to select this. Everything else is good. We can go to tags. We don't have tags, and we can click on review. And if everything looks good, we can click on create. So this is going to take a few minutes. Again, we need to wait till this deployment is completed before we can move forward. So we're going to wait a few minutes, and then we can continue once this is done. Okay, let me refresh, and here we go. Deployment is completed. So if I go ahead and expand this here, we can see it. Click on that. We can get all the information that it's set up. So let's go back to CloudConnexa and test our tunnels. So first, I'm going to test the very first one, test the connection on the first tunnel. Again, it's going to take a minute or so, maybe. Here we go. We got green light connected. Let's do the second one. And then Here we go. This one is connected to. So we're good. We can go and click on finish now. Okay, we're done. This may take a couple of minutes before the connection is established. So we're going to wait till it shows online. Let's go ahead and refresh the page. And here we go. Both connectors are online. So this was a quick video on how to connect CloudConnexa to Azure using IPSec.